Hi, friends. So I am here with Kim Gamez, and I'm stoked for you to meet her because she is a serial founder. She's also based in Michigan, and I'm going to let her tell you all of the things that she started because it's amazing. She also happens to be married and a mom. So for those of you who've come to me asking about balance, how to do things, how to launch things, I thought, who would be the best person, especially here locally in Michigan? So Kim, hi, and thanks for making time to chat today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I love talking about all things entrepreneurship. So, yeah, I'm an open book, whatever you want to talk about.
And I know that you probably have done this before, just, with telling folks what you've done and you've been an entrepreneur residence and all these different organizations you're part of. But for folks who don't know who you are, I'd love for you to provide some background on what you've built and what you're doing now.
Yeah, serial entrepreneur. My very first company, actually, when I graduated from high school, my parents were real estate investors. I think they had like 32, I think, units that they rented out. When I graduated with the money that I got from my graduation party, it was like a couple $1,000s. And my dad, I remember him saying, like, you could put a down payment on a house with that. And so I was like, well, that sounds awesome. Like that's way sexier than like a designer purse or something. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I know. But I didn't realize that it wasn't normal for an 18-year-old to buy real estate or rental property. And with that, I put a $2,000 down payment on my first duplex. And from there, I get yeah, just every time we had a little bit of money, I invested back into real estate, but I met my husband when I was 19, and I was a waitress, and he, at the time, had just moved here. Well, he was from Mexico, was living in Dallas, came to Michigan, but he had worked in restaurants, and so we joke, like, "Wouldn't it be fun one day to own a restaurant?" And one day he was talking to my husband or to my father, and, he had said, "Yeah, it was like our family's dreams." My husband has 12 siblings, and he said, "It was our family's dream to own a restaurant." And my dad said, "Well, funny enough, there's this restaurant downtown that I think you can buy under a land contract." And so I'm like, "What's a land contract?" And he's like, "You put a little bit of money up front, and then you make payments, and you don't have to get the bank involved." And I was like, "Well, what about a liquor license?" He's like, "Well, if I have to, I could put the liquor license in my name, but let's look into it." So fun fact, in the state of Michigan, you can have a liquor license, or you could at the time at 18 years old, because you could serve alcohol, but you couldn't consume it. So I might have consumed underage, but it was all in the name of science, making the menus. But yeah, so we had that restaurant. It was a Mexican restaurant for 17 years. And over the course of that time, all of the extra taco money we made, we invested into real estate. About 10 years in, we launched another restaurant and banquet facility. And a couple years into having that second business with the banquet facility, I was helping my niece plan her quinceañera. So when a girl turns 15, they have these big celebrations. The average quinceañera is around $20,000. And I was shocked when I went online to like help her plan. I was like, how do you plan a quinceañera? There was like nothing really to help families plan. And so I was like, wonder how big this market is, and realized there was like a half a million of these celebrated in the US every year. And so I saw that to be an opportunity. I'm like, I've watched enough Shark Tank. I can raise money from investors. I've built businesses that I know business building. Like, I should be able to figure this out. And so, yeah, we launched that app. It was called Meet by the Dino. It grew from an idea to 3 million users in the first 3 years. Then the pandemic hit, and yeah, we ended up getting acquired during the pandemic, which was mind-blowing, but amazing for our team. And after that acquisition, I stayed there for a year, and when my contract was up, during that contract time, I was doing some entrepreneur in residence work with both University of Michigan and Michigan State University. And then when, my contract was up with the company that acquired ours, I ended up, going to Michigan State and saying, like, "Can I do this full time?" Like, I really love working with startup founders. I just love this, like, literally giving them all of this knowledge that I've had to learn the hard way, and started that role and was, coaching all these amazing startups and telling them, like, all my tips and tricks when it came to marketing. But marketing, if I'm sure you're well aware, like, changes all the time. And so something that was relevant last year is not relevant this year. Like, for example, SEO. I would have considered myself an SEO expert in my past life, but now with AI and everything, like,
Huge.
all changed. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, "I can't be a sensei if I don't know how to fight anymore." And so I was like, "I'm gonna start playing with this app that the kids are using called TikTok, and I'm gonna put some videos up there, and no one will see them that I know because I'm old and none of my friends are on there." And so started posting videos, and then around that same time, my mom was struggling with alcoholism, moved in with us, and we started reviewing non-alcoholic alternatives, and I was shocked that, like, the products that were hemp derived, had like, made you feel like you had wine, and I growing up in the Dare era, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get so
Anti-drug.
strong. Is it it's illegal, I'm gonna go to like, how are they shipping these to my house?" But I was, like, just saying all of this, being very vulnerable online and just talking about our journey and like, asking questions to the person on the other side of the phone, but also doing research and coming back be like, "Oh my gosh, I figured out," and just being very open about the whole process, and that's what led us to launch what is now Soberish, and yeah, so it was kind of an accidental startup, but I just couldn't help myself when I saw there to be, like, a big audience that was not being served, and this amazing market of products that I thought people should know about, so sorry, hopefully that wasn't too long of an intro, but that's a little bit about me.
No, I think that is perfect for many reasons. And the takeaways, first of all, the app for the quinceañera, I think is unreal. And this is why I think it's unreal in a good way. What you've said to me and the whole part of this conversation thus far has been a lot of things coming to fruition out of necessity. The quinceañera, to your point, when someone turns 15, it is a thing. I spent 2 decades in Chicago. Quinceañeras are when there's a quinceañera, especially at Michigan Avenue, the pictures, Pilsen, it. Got an app created. So let's talk about the app. So did you make the app? Did you know how to make an app?
No, and honestly, I thought it was like Photoshop, like you could like move buttons around and it would just work. Like I was so naive. Like I had
Love it.
no idea. Like I thought it might take like $20,000 to build this. $1 million later, we were still building and like literally building the plane while we were flying it. Like customers would be coming and asking us for different things and we were just building everything, which we ended up finding out that was like we were trying to boil the ocean when we should have just tried to boil our cup of water instead of trying to do everything and be everything to everyone. But lessons learned. But yeah, so I did not know what I was doing. But what I did know, my strengths were people. And so, like with the restaurants, I didn't even know how to turn on the fryers. Yeah, we had one of the most popular restaurants in our town but I didn't even know how to make our salsa, but I put the right people in
Right.
place to make the product and then put the other people in place to serve the customers and then being that marketing engine and getting the customers in there to be in front of the servers, bartenders, and our cooks. I knew I just had to put the right people in place, and so I was able to prove to do that again even with technology.
And you mentioned people, and another thread that I'm noticing in our conversation, your parents, your dad giving you that push of, you could put a down payment on a house and here's what a land contract is. And then your mom, I have seen some of your personal social videos. Your mom is hilarious. There's a video of Kim and her mom laughing. And whenever I've seen it, it cracks me up. It cracks me up. And just your parents just so supportive of what you did to help. Do you think that do you think that type of education or the first person knowledge from your parents with what they've done in real estate, do you think that helped give you a bit of a head start in a way from an information standpoint, knowledge standpoint, because a lot of it is it's like it's your skill set, it's your oomph, it's your get out of bed in the morning, get to work kind of thing. How do you think your parents and that experience and their education played a role at the time for you at that age of 18 to where you are now in your 40s?
Yeah, so when I was going through school, which is I feel like it's kind of going back to you can get into trades, but when I was in school, you go to college.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want the road your parents went, you wanna get a good job. To get a good job, you need to have an education, you need to go to that four-year university, and I so many times along my journey, people have said, "Kim, you think so far out of the box." And I'm like, "'Cause I never was taught the box." Like, I didn't know you don't do that. Like, I didn't know that you didn't buy a rental property, like, when you were young. But I also saw my parents work every single day, like, every day. I don't know if even when we were on vacation, they still were working. Like, they'd call in to check on something, or my dad would be making a deal in the corner, like, with his cell phone. Like, they were always working, but then I also saw, as hard as they worked, they were at my mom especially was at every single one of my basketball games. was at like, did all the things. My dad also, if he really wanted that boat, he made sure to make the deals to get the commission to be able to buy the boat. And so I didn't necessarily see that with my friends' parents that had that normal 9 to 5 job, that they worked really hard to get the week off of work, to go to the standard Disney vacation, to, like, do the thing. And I'm like, "Wow, if you can, like, really work hard, you can make whatever dream a reality." Now finding out that, like, even with the restaurants, there were years, not paychecks, not months, but years that would go by that our staff would make more money than we would. But it was so amazing to, and maybe it sounds cheesy, but to be like, I played a part of that family, like, our servers, for example, like, that single mom was able to put, like, ballet slippers on her kids because of the job that we gave her, that our customers were able to support us, that were able to support her, and so all of that was so powerful, and for me, like, I couldn't give up when the times were rough because there were all these people that were counting on us. So yeah, I don't know. It's, yeah, surrounding yourself with people, and whether it's your employees, whether it's about the people that you look up to, whether they're advisors or your parents or your peers, but also your customers. Like, I know it sounds again cheesy, but love on your customers. They're going to tell you exactly what they want,
That's real.
and there'll be trends that will happen and you're like, "Wow." Like, maybe we should really look into this because multiple people are saying this or doing this. Honestly, it's more about what they do and less about what they say. Because they might say, "Oh, I love pink," but they're buying the, or they're pushing the blue button. Like, and so,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just so much about surrounding yourself and listening, having your eyes and ears open to all of those different people in your life.
So you're also a mom. I see the amazing photos of the family behind you, and you've got 5 children. What was it like as you built all these different things, whether it was the restaurants, the app, and now this amazing e-commerce site? What was it like through the years with the kids getting older and seeing you balancing them and balancing all these projects? Did it remind you of how you saw your dad in the corner with the cell phone cutting the deal to get the thing? Because I'm sure the kids have seen you, in a parking lot or outside of Target or Meyer or something. In Michigan, we've got both, but a lot of Meyer. Yeah, talking to a client or a customer, what was that parallel like for you, if any, compared to what it was like when you were growing up with your parents?
Kids are very much a part of our business. Not that they're like helping with the business, but they see me, my teenagers see me on social media. If anything, my little kids, their friends' parents see me and they ask about me. They're like, "Oh, I saw you in a video." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, mom, you're famous," whatever. But they also see the hard work. And sometimes I have to remind them if they're like, "Mom, you're working again." Like last night, we were late at the office and I took the kids with me and they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "You can play while we're doing whatever." But I have to remind them, even little kids, we get to go on vacation because mommy and daddy work really hard.
Yes.
Like, we're able to have these nice things because mommy and daddy work really hard. And so, I don't have to say it often, I say it enough as a reminder, but then on the flip side of that, my teenage daughter, she just turned 16, but she's not super into sports, which is fine, like her older brothers were, and so she likes to work. And when we were talking about, like, what kind of car she was gonna get. I'm like, "You're gonna get a family Focus just like your brothers did." And she's like, "Well, can I get something nicer?" And I'm like, "No. Nope. This is what you will get." And she's like, "Well, what about if I make payments on it?" And I'm like, "Okay, financial literacy 101. Yes, let's do that." And so I think, has realized from watching us, like, if I want something bad enough, I can work for it, make money, and do the thing. And she ended up buying a Bronco at 16 years old.
I love that. So let's talk a bit about parenting and talk about someone who's going to watch this. You mentioned earlier, your parents had different types of vocations as you have with your husband right now. There, and we talked about AI. There are a lot of folks right now, 30s and 40s, men and women. They have kids, they have families, and they are worried about where they are right now with their current full time gig. AI is here, ain't going away. I just saw today that Walmart just announced their partnership with OpenAI, where you can legit buy things within the Chat GPT session from Walmart. So GEO, for those watching, generative engine optimization, get on it. What do you say to the person or ideas you have for someone who's in a corporate position? They know that that position might go away. and there's something that they've always wanted to do for themselves, whether it is making scarves, whether they are a phenomenal baker or accountant or any vocation or an expert in, I don't know, 1880s fashion, they want to just make a living on it. What do you say to the person now today in 2025 who seems so overwhelmed with change and doing something different and trying to balance that while they're working their full-time gig and also potentially managing a family?
Okay, so I'm gonna start out by saying I think I don't know what the statistic is, 80, 90% of startups fail. Small businesses fail. So, it takes a rare human to wanna go into the fire pit and say, "But I am gonna be that 10% that actually wins." And so I've already sprinkled in, I didn't make a lot of money. I almost went out of business, all these things. Like, it is not easy. It takes a sick individual like myself that's like, "I need it though." Like, I need to build the thing because it's mine, because at the end of the day, I wanna see this exist in the world. Like, the idea for Soberish, I was done. I was like, "Been there, done that startup journey multiple times now. I'm gonna take this slick role at the university where I get to just, like, give my opinion all day? Like, you're gonna pay me for this?" I got bored. I was like, I needed to change and, like, build the thing. But with that being said, I get it. If you are like, you've always wanted to start a company and you've had this, like, itch, girl, I hear you. I feel it all the time. I would say start small. Make sure that someone gives a crap. Like, someone will pay for your thing. So, for example, if I were to do Meat Padrino again, the app, and I didn't know and I didn't wanna overbuild. Maybe I could have just started manually helping families plan and then start automating pieces of it, and then maybe charging for my service. And then
Mhm.
after I would get somewhere to see, like, there is an audience of people who would pay for something, then start building it or investing more than just my time, but then my money in developing it. So, great example, Soberish, my current company. I was like, "Nope, not doing another startup. This is fun. I'm this, like, influencer. I'm getting all this free product to try with my mom. We literally are just getting high on the couch and we're getting paid for it." What? Like, don't sorry. Didn't mean to make you choke.
Uh, uh,
But this is the best gig ever, and then I'm like, again, because 'cause I'm now a nerd and I can't, like, not really understand everything, I'm like, "I wonder how many sales these brands are getting from our videos," and all of them had sent me these affiliate links for me to get a commission, but I really didn't want the commission. I was like, "I don't need their money." Like, there's startups that keep their money. I just wanna, like, see, like, how much we're doing. I honest to God thought we were maybe selling a couple $1,000 worth of product for these brands. So I quickly threw together a very ugly page that had images of each one of the products I had ever talked about. If a customer clicked on it, it would go to their site, and if they purchased, it would track. And so it was just this really simple, ugly landing page just to see.
a
Took
beta.
me maybe a day to organize it. We ended up in that first month, so I launched it last August. In that first month, we generated $60,000 of sales for the brands that we were talking about. And so with that, I was like, well, shit. Now I have to build the thing because that is a business. This is not a fun hobby. This needs to exist. And the people that I'm talking to online had just showed me this needs to exist. And so then I just built it myself because I don't wanna waste my time or my money. I work way too hard for it. I also don't wanna waste a lot of my time, but there's a lot of hours in the day that I'm not working, AKA after my kids go to sleep or on weekends. And so I heads down built all by myself what is Soberish. And I thought, if we launch it and it doesn't work, that's fine. But if we launch it and it works, then I'll bring on some people to help me. So you have to do so much, like just this grunt manual things first, just to make sure that when you do want to either have people quit their jobs and come work for you, that you're not laying them off, but you're also not wasting a ton of your own money doing something.
What you said, that's why, like, I was so excited to talk to you. You said that when the kids go to bed and on the weekends, because girl, that is my life, right? That's always been my life, but no one makes me do it. I just like it. If I wanna like, now that, with vibe coding is a big thing with AI, I can finally build things and test things that I've always wanted to build, but it's at night. It's when they go to bed, and I think you calling out sometimes what you said, it might have to be grunt work. It might have to be where you're not watching the entire series on Netflix, or you might forego a night out, a sushi night out to do that proof of concept. Because what you just talked about, that POC, proof of concept, I think is also so smart because people don't often realize that there's little itty bitty things you can do before you launch and go big, whatever it may be. I think that is just, fantastic, fantastic advice. And I know that our time today, we have to hop off the chat pretty soon. But before I let you go, I wanted to give you a moment to chat about your experience with Soberish. And you launched it, it's up, it's running. I was actually, Kim did some awesome live shopping, and which I think live shopping is so much of the future of a lot of e-commerce. You did some live shopping experiences on the site. Would love to close with any learnings or takeaways that you'd like to share about what it's like to have an e-commerce company and what you learned, and just any types of tips or motivation you have for folks when it comes to launching an e-commerce type of entity.
Well, it goes the biggest piece of advice that I give every startup founder, whether it's a small business or, the beginnings of a big tech company, start with your personal journey. Customers want to know who they're doing business with. So whether that's buying something from you online or utilizing your service, people love to support humans. And so the more that you can just get comfortable throwing your camera up, talking about your day behind the scenes, blah, 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 the whole time when I was building Soberish, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I just put 8 hours into this website, and guess what? My 50,000 followers on TikTok are gone. I guess you have to listen to me, my 126 followers on Instagram, because you're all I got now." Like, literally, I remember doing that post and being like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just gonna keep talking about it." And then guess what? 18 months later, I have over 200,000 followers on each of the platforms, on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Facebook, and I reach 30 million people a month. And
Wait,
that's how I was
are you saying the TikTok folks went away?
my account got banned right before we launched my website. Yes, so if
Door.
yeah, so our yeah, so and I was only on TikTok because I was embarrassed to tell my story or do these silly videos on Instagram, which again, I only had like 100 people there, and I literally only had my friends and family on Facebook. And I was like, I don't want them to know what I'm doing though.
Right,
It's so
right.
cringy. Like I'm trying these drinks and being silly with my mom. Like how like I am a successful business person in our town, like, and I'm an influencer, like, ah, shoot me now. Like, I was like,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
no.
yes, yes.
And then I'm like, you know what though? If this needs to exist, these people, our customer, she's also on Facebook and Instagram. Like, swallow your pride, Kimberly Renee. Get your ass over on Instagram and post these videos there too. So now my thing is I post a video on TikTok, I turn around that next second and post it on Instagram, and then it feeds my Facebook. It doesn't take me any more time. And now I'm reaching 3 times the people. And I don't change the video. I don't use like trending sounds. I don't do follow any of that crap. I just talk about my journey. I talk about me being a mom. I talk about me being married to a Mexican man, if you've ever watched any of my content. I sprinkle in like soberish goodies about, my life here. And it's paid off. Our first 12 months, I did $1 million in sales. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I did $1 million in sales without ads. Just me talking about my silly life and all my mess ups and all my wins and all the things on social media. So if you were to do something right now with your company, talk about it. Social media is like the biggest hack. Like, you don't have to pay for customers. Start talking about it, ask questions, be vulnerable. People will tell you what they like, what they don't like, and then just lean into those things. So if I had to do it all again, I would start by hand. Let's say you want to make a scarf company. But in the future, if you want to have this big business, you're going to have to make scarves at like a factory or whatever. Who cares? Start sewing them by yourself, talk about it, show it, do all these things, do them on lives because you're selling scarves. You can do lives on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I can't. Those apps think I'm selling drugs online. So I have to do a live on our website because I can say whatever the heck I want at soberish.com.
Yes.
But being in front of your customers, talking to your customers, that's why the live works. They want to see you in real life. They want to see you without a filter on your face or without a script that you're reading. And so I appreciate the lives. I think our customers did too. But yeah, just start. If anything, it's like, what's the worst that can happen? Don't quit your day job. Start, put a little bit of your time, a little bit of your blood, sweat, and tears into a project. And if it doesn't work out, it's still a bonus because at least you tried. At least you can say, I did it. It didn't work.
Right. And I would add to that, sometimes folks will try it a couple times and then kill it. but you have to almost be consistent and give it a good solid, college try before you give up. How Before I let you go, what would you say is that litmus test for someone that's like, Kim B, I tried it. What would you say their time frame is to really give it a go when it comes to posting, being vulnerable, using social and content as they're building out that concept?
Well, first, it's not even so much on content. If you're talking about strictly content and trying to get views and things like that, you gotta throw so much on the wall and then step back and say, "What worked? Is there any themes? What are my competitors doing? Like, is there a certain hook or a certain, like, editing style that
Yep.
would work?" That's just on social media. But when it comes to your product, because at the end of the day, if you're making an educational tool for like teachers, you might only need 10 customers to be successful. I need 100,000 customers. So I need those mass eyeballs on
Yep.
social media where you might only need to be relevant to a handful of people for them to be customers, depending on what you're building or what you're making. But at the end of the day, you need to talk to your customers. So not just through the screen talk to them, but after somebody gets your scarf, maybe you like, "Hey, can I follow up with you to see how that washes? Would you mind?" Like,
Yes.
get on the phone and talk to those people. Or
Dude,
someone who is always wearing scarves, maybe you're like, "Hey, can I take you out to lunch or can I quickly just jump on a quick phone call with you? I'm doing this project, would love your feedback because I love your style." Hey, don't tell her about your scarves. You're saying, "So what type of scarf like, where do you buy your scarves? What type of designs do you typically look for? Do you care about, like, where they're from, what material they are?" So you're looking for a couple things, like, about the product itself, what they like, where the heck they found it, because you're gonna have to be found one day. So, like, are they buying it on TikTok Shop, or are they buying in the local boutique, or did they buy it off of a Facebook ad? And then, just, like, buying pattern or even, like, how much money they're spending on that thing, find out. The whole time, don't you dare talk about your scarves. You are learning from them, so then you can learn from more people and learn this is called customer discovery. You learn all these things, and then you come back and say, "Okay, I realize red is the color scarf that every woman has. The price point is between 20 and $25 is kind of like the sweet spot. She gets a lot of influence off of people on Instagram." And then you can say, "All right, my first thing is gonna be red scarves at this price point, and I'm gonna start really heavy on Instagram, and maybe I'll send some to some influencers or some to people that reach this audience." That's how I would start.
this has been fabulous. This is amazing. Thank you so much. I know that we covered a lot. I'm going to include all of Kim's socials and links below as well, so you can follow accordingly. Kim, I'm so glad we finally connected. I've been such a fan of what you've been doing. And I know some people use like the word the hustle, but you know, it is an amazing hustle. And I think what you're doing from a full circle perspective is fabulous. It's a great testament to your grit and helping others get inspired to do the thing, especially when they're older and they have kids. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye.